Good morning, everybody, and thank you for joining the webinar. Today, my colleague James and myself will be talking about optimizing your energy consumption. First of all, a few housekeeping notes. Please note that during this webinar, we're using audio broadcast. The small box in the right-hand corner will need to remain open throughout. To chat to the host or to submit a question, click on the speech bubble in the top right or click on the question mark in the top right. And then at the bottom right, you can either type in the text box or open the Q&A box. If you experience any technical difficulties, please email the address on the slide, marketing@IMServ.com, or speak to us directly through the chat bar. Just an overview of what we will be talking about today is we will quickly cover IMServ and IMServ, and we will talk about how businesses and local authorities can optimize their energy consumption. This is sort of split into 4 sections. I will cover the first 2, and my colleague James will cover the last 2. We'll talk about monitoring, visualization, or the way we present data to you, control, and we'll actually make you aware and discuss with you a case study that is based on one of our customers. Let me tell you a bit about IMServ and IMServ's background. IMServ was formed in 1992 by the then electricity suppliers, and it was our main job to collect data from half-hourly meters. We're based in the UK, in Milton Keynes. At the time, it was called UKDCS. In 1999, IMServ was bought by IMServ. Since then, we've been part of IMServ. IMServ's group revenue is around £2.3 billion. It's listed on the New York Stock Exchange. IMServ employs about 21,000 people worldwide, and IMServ has approximately 220 permanent staff. We work with the utilities industry, with energy suppliers, and with commercial and local authority end users. Within UK, we are the largest independent energy data collector, and we collect more than 30% of the UK's electricity consumption. As I said before, we are an integral part of the IMServ family. IMServ can be split in 3 different ways. IMServ operations management, which is where we fit in, IMServ real group, IMServ controls. What we actually do at IMServ, what do these 220 people do on a daily basis? Everything we do within IMServ is related back to monitoring, visualization, and control. So we monitor data. We make sure we deliver you accurate data. And the first question really that we ask our customers, and probably more important, you should ask yourself, you should ask your business, is what do you want to monitor? Over the past few years, data and what companies and local authorities would like to monitor has changed significantly. In the past, it was all around electricity and gas usage. That changed. It is much more around water, oil, microgeneration, temperature, weather, heat, and building management systems nowadays. So besides the normal electricity and gas, there's been a lot of additions to this. If we look in a bit more detail at metering and data monitoring, you can sort of divide these activities into, let's say, into 2 bits. There is fiscal metering and non-fiscal metering. I'll talk about the non-fiscal metering later, but let's focus on physical metering for the time being. The metering services we offer are few credited, and we offer the full end-to-end solution. We will buy the meter, we will schedule an appointment with your sites, we will install the meter, and we will maintain the meter just to make sure it's always working and doing what it should do. We install single and three-phase MID approved meters. And because many of you have sites all over the UK, we have installation capacity all over the UK as well. We have just over 60 based field engineers that will cover the whole of the UK. So we'll install meters or whatever it is where your sites are to cover your needs. The other thing to enable this is around communications. Communications we use vary from, let's say, GSM or GPRS to PSTN. Now, we all know if we use our mobile phone, the signal isn't always brilliant. So the first thing we need to avoid that is to work together with all the big mobile phone companies. So we actually have SIM cards, whether it's Orange, whether it's O2, whether it's Vodafone, or whether it's T-Mobile. We will just use the one whilst we are on site which has the best signal. And if there's no signal at all, which happens sometimes, we can always fall back on a PSTN or a BT line. Looking at our data services, our data services, just like a service provider within this area, it's a highly regulated and monitored market. We have a lot of regulations and monitoring by either Elexon and Ofgem. We offer, I'm sure you're aware of this, half-hourly and non-half-hourly data. Most of our customers know us and know our name because of that. 99% of data is accurate and complete. Now, sure, we would all like this to be 100%, but looking at industry standards, it's well above what we are supposed to be achieving. Looking at the market as a whole, I am very confident, probably 100% confident, that this is one of the highest in the country. Our data can also be used for claims within the feed-in tariff. At the moment, the market share we have in the half-hourly data collection market is to over 50%, and it's been like that for a few years now. Now, if you look at non-fiscal metering, it's not much more than, let's say, sub-metering. People like to give it a name, fiscal or non-fiscal, but within the non-fiscal market, again, we use single and three-phase meters. We offer granular sub-metering, and if I look back at the year that I've been here now, the increase in demand that has taken place in this area is quite significant. We're doing more and more granular sub-metering for a variety of our customers. It's quite simple when it comes to communications. We use the same as we do in the fiscal market, the only difference being that we see more and more opportunities and demand for real-time data, and when it's real-time from a cost point of view, it's a lot better to use the old-fashioned internet. So we use Ethernet connections as well. To give you an idea on the scale and the operations we have here, on an annual basis, we maintain more than 170,000 meters. And the data goes back from those meters to you, our customers, and to us is either A+1 or real-time. And as a customer, you can use this data for several purposes. You can use it to make sure your bills are correct and to minimize estimated billing. You can use it to forecast or even to budget and to control. And we have a web tool that's called EDV that can help you to do this. EDV can also deliver very powerful energy management reports. It can help you as a company, as a business, or as a local authority to reduce your cost, reduce your carbon. You can ask yourself, with the software, or use our bureau and consultancy services. When it comes to automated monitoring and targeting, aM&T, and on that we'd like to sort of explain to you that we're independent and that we offer component-based solutions that are suited for our customers. We're not tied to a meter manufacturer. We're not tied to a logger or a BMS manufacturer. We work with all important brands and recognized hardware solutions within the country. So what we like to do is look at you as a customer and look at your site, because each site is different and each customer is different, and come up with the best solution for you. We can communicate with most interfaces and all components on your site. They'll be linked with each other, but they will be linked wirelessly. So there's no cables on the floor. We don't have to tap into walls to hide the cables, etc. We normally use communication methods like Zigbee and Modbus. All of our customers nowadays would like to target specific areas of energy load. And what they are trying to achieve with this is to get real-time granular consumption detail. And that will allow them to identify exactly when and why energy is used within a portfolio or on a specific site. They can then look at that with the help of EDV and identify areas of wastage and act on that and reduce cost. So if you have, let's say, 100 or 200 sites, and if you analyze your consumption, you link that consumption to operational activities. Very normal for a retail outlet to not have that much difference between Saturdays and Sundays and during the week. Whereas office building, there should be a significant drop on Saturdays and Sundays. And the data and the actions that you plan to take back of analyzing this included into your energy strategy. Two solutions enable our customers or you to set improvement goals and engage stakeholders. And create performance parameters for energy use. You will receive alerts when thresholds are breached. You can establish targets for carbon reduction. You can monitor performance against targets. You can engage stakeholders. I mean, for all of us working within, let's say, the energy market, we all know what a kilowatt hour means. And we all know more or less what the cost is of a kilowatt hour. It might be 9 pence, it might be 10 pence, it might be 11 pence, depending on where you are. But for most people, they don't really understand that language. But if you were to create a dashboard that puts in pounds or that puts it in something else, we've done something with a pub where actually we made an energy management report, and instead of putting it in kilowatt hours or in pounds, it was put in pints of beer. So it basically meant that on a weekly basis, they could see how much energy they saved, and that was transformed into you have to sell 25 pints of beer less to come to the same profit, or the other way around. Another thing you can do is to reinforce your corporate energy strategy and your goals, and to enhance your brand image and promote CSR. This leads nicely into the next bit, which is what we call visualize. Is EDV. EDV is a tool that helps you as energy managers and etc. to do your job in a very time efficient and in a very good way. And a lot of people would say that having all the data is absolutely brilliant, but none of us are going to look at spreadsheets full rows and columns of data and data and data, identify patterns. So what do we actually do with the data? And that's exactly where EDV can help you. As before, EDV is IMServ's online energy management software. It's a secure web tool that you can access, and so can your colleagues, wherever you are, whenever you want. And it transforms raw data into intelligent and meaningful information. It delivers the intelligence that enables you, as a customer, as an energy manager, to make informed decisions about your business and about your entire portfolio. You can leave data that is actually in EDV. So if you're not measuring it, you can't manage it. As before, in the past it was mainly around electricity and gas. Nowadays it's a lot more. It's a lot more focused on carbon emissions, on heat, on temperature, and even on microgeneration. Want from your data. It's not a question that we think you should ask yourself and your business and the stakeholders within that in the early stages. Look at what customers have told us. The many meetings myself and my colleagues have had in the past, let's say, 5 years. You can sort of narrow down to 4 key areas. They want to control and reduce their cost. Customers want to manage individual sites and the entire portfolio. Customers want to be compliant when it comes to national or international regulations like CRC. And customers want to make informed decisions that help you to plan and invest for the future in your business. If you look at controlling costs with EDV first, we will look at 4 sort of key areas in a bit more detail that I mentioned earlier. First one is around controlling costs. EDV can help you. It can give you the data, it can give you energy management reports, it can give you financial reports that help you forecast cost against budgets and compare periods. You can run benchmarking reports, and there are very, very powerful league tables to create a bit of competition between your sites. So you compare sites, regions, you can look at worst performance, you can look at best performance. Another thing it does, and this is not relevant for everybody, but for quite a few of you it will be, with very good tenant billing and bill validation module. Make sure that you are billed accurately, and your bills and your tenant bills, they will include unit rates, tariffs, and standard charges. So developed about 2-3 years ago is around what's called, but let's call it what if report. It's a report that sort of gives you some flexibility. You can put something in the software. What if I were to install solar panels? Or if I were to install new lighting, energy efficient lighting within our buildings? What will be the result of that on carbon emissions and on our costs? Now, a few slides. I'd like you to have a few example reports that I have included. A monthly finance report is a report that shows you what you're actually spending compared to your budget. So very clearly, you get an overview of a particular month, and you can see blue is what you're doing, red is what the budget is. So you can see whether you're on track or not. It's a very simple way to match budgets month on month. Energy finance report. This tells you very quickly whether your top 5 or top 10 or top 20 sites are that have overspent. And if I say overspent in this instance, I mean budget is X, the actual spend is X plus 1, so is above X. But it's looking at your entire portfolio, which might be 50 sites or it might be 1,000 sites. Yeah, you can very quickly see, okay, I've got 22 sites here, they've all overspent more than 10%, and you can focus on those. So it allows you to focus your time, your valuable time, and your efforts on those specific sites. Monthly analysis graph. This graph, you can run them on a daily basis, monthly basis, or even annual basis, and it shows you what either your portfolio or what a particular site is doing on a monthly basis. And we've sort of color-coded this. And we're looking at blue is sort of out of operational hours, and yellow is within operational hours. So clearly you should see a big drop and a big rise just before, let's say, 8 or half 8, and a big drop around 5, half past 5 or 6 o'clock in the evening. So it's about getting that balance right. You can see overspend quickly. You can see when there's not a big drop after 5, 6 o'clock, which means that things are being left on. You can use these to tell sites what they're doing. You'll know that if we speak to a site and we say, listen, I'm looking at this, blah, 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 I think you're leaving a lot of light, computers, etc., equipment, air cons, heating, running during the night. And they'll say, oh no, we always make sure we switch it off. We've all heard it before. It actually gives you the evidence and give them the evidence that is not what is happening. Calendar view reporting. Quite similar to the previous one. The difference being that here you can actually set some benchmarks. You can set upper thresholds, lower thresholds. Lower thresholds are not relevant for everybody, but for certain industries they're very relevant, and upper thresholds. And he will actually send you either a text or an alert or an email when an upper threshold is being breached. You know, okay, on over X, Y, Z, I need to look in or I need to speak to the site manager or whoever it is to make sure that everything's fine and we're not wasting energy. You can different thresholds for weekends and weekdays, etc. In the bottom, a bit difficult to see here because there's a lot of data at the back of this report, and you should really look at it on a big screen that I'm doing right now at my laptop. But what also it will highlight, it will be sort of pinky orangey, certain cells where thresholds have been breached. What we did in the office, and we have an office in Milton Keynes that has 2 floors, and if you walk upstairs, I'm not sure many of you have ever been here, but if you walk up the stairs and if you would go to the left, there's sort of 4 or 5 offices with the let's say directors, important people, and etc. And we actually installed some sub-metering on their offices, and we're running this report on a daily basis on their offices. So we're actually looking at what those 4 directors are using when they're in the office and when they're not in the office. And it's about, you should always lead by example. Well, I found it really, really interesting to go back to them with a report in saying, well, look at this. You actually used more or less the same amount during the night than you did during the day. So it was a very interesting exercise internally. Move here again is this is a daily report. It's split the day into 24 hours, and then if you click on it, you could actually get 24 half hours. This just gives you the opportunity to include things from an operational point of view, like cleaning or maintenance and anything else, and at the same time set benchmarks as well and get alerts on the back of that. Weekly guide, you can clearly see this is probably an office or local authority. It won't be retail because on Saturdays and Sundays their usage drops heavily. It's the red bit towards the end. Blue is during the night or non-operational hours. Red is during the day. Again, very quickly you can see it looks okay on a Saturday and Sunday. Their usage during the day is more or less the same as during the night. There's not a lot this particular site can do during a Saturday and Sunday. During nights and days during the week, it's another story, and you would have to look at the data in a bit more detail to understand exactly where potential savings can be made. Managing your portfolio with EDV. With EDV, you can manage your entire portfolio. You can create what we call a portfolio structure. If I take the Invensys and IMServ as an example, we would have a structure, for example, where all the Invensys sites are underneath Invensys. Underneath Invensys, as I mentioned before, you've got three groups. The group we're in is called Invensys Operations Management. So you would have a second tier group, which is called IOM. And then a third tier, which is actually our site. So you can create the groups how is suitable for you. Groups, within EDV, we recognize three different types of groups. There are fixed groups. So if you look at budget or region or building type, there are dynamic groups, and this is mainly if you were to look at, let's say, your worst 10 performers, top 10 performers, which will obviously change on a daily, weekly, or monthly basis. And then you have virtual groups, which is more around measuring and metering specific areas within the building, so zones. So you could choose to measure a floor, you could choose to measure, let's say, your HVAC equipment, or you could choose to measure a department, as we did, the directors, or you could choose to measure, let's say, all your lighting. So you can look at that individually. Demonstrating environmental compliance. We're in CRC, and I'm sure many of you are as well. I'm not sure how much you actually it's a lot of work, it's a lot of data, and it's a lot of work to do. EDV can really help you to make that laborious task as easy as possible. We all have to make sure we meet or even exceed our national and international obligations and our compliance reporting. Now, EDV can help you with that. It will help you to demonstrate your business's corporate social responsibility. Your staff will understand what you're trying to do, and you can engage with stakeholders a lot easier via either real-time data or simply by dashboards or by showing them cost and carbon reductions. I went to one of our customers a while ago, or a few weeks ago actually, in Southampton. And that's a very energy efficient building with some renewables. They've got some heat pumps, they've got solar panels, and they also have a reception area. And as soon as you walk into reception, after you've signed in, they put you in this waiting area with a coffee machine. It's all lovely. They also have a big screen on there, and that screen is a real-time data feed that comes from my IMServ, and it's a personalized dashboard for this particular retailer, and it shows them on a minute-by-minute basis how much energy they're using. At the same time, it shows them how much energy their panels and etc. and heat pumps are producing, and that shows them the difference. So you can see, when I walked through it, it looked quite nice, and they were saying that, for example, when I looked at it, I have to admit, it was a sunny day. It was in August or September, and the time that I looked at it, it's always about 75 to 80% of the energy being used on site, renovated on site, which is very impressive. And if staff see that, it just makes more sense to them. They understand it. The majority of people, as I said before, do not understand kilowatt hours. Planning for the future with EDV. As I mentioned before, that you can forecast your future consumption and plan accordingly from a financial point of view and for most FDs, this is absolutely critical. You can also make informed decisions when it comes to making decisions or deciding whether you're going to go with certain energy saving projects or not. But most importantly, EV helps you to optimize your profile and manage your risks. We all know that prices in this area are only going one way. Electricity and gas or oil or whatever it is not getting any cheaper. It's getting more expensive on a year-by-year basis. And a reduction in energy cost and usage will have a direct effect on the company's bottom line results. Thank you for your time. I'll now pass you over to my colleague James, who will tell you all about our control solution and will discuss a case study with you.
Hey everyone, and thank you all for listening. I'm talking to you today about our control solutions. Why are controls so important to us? Or really, why should they be so important to you? Well, the main reasons are save money, which is it's been around quite a lot lately, saving money, but let's face it, as Jurjen said, the prices aren't getting any cheaper, so if you can save money, then that's a massive incentive. Getting control over your energy spend obviously comes with that, and gain valuable insight into the performance of your plant and assets. This allows you to make informed decisions about maintenance, which helps to reduce downtime. And also, by making everything on your site controlled either locally by one individual or remotely by our bureau team, we allow your employees to do what they're paid to do, rather than worrying about lighting and heating and all the rest of it. Supplementing a site-wide control system and strategy, you could see savings of up to 30%. We can switch off lights at night, or only switch them on when they're required, i.e. if there's people in the building. We can implement a strategy that will not allow heating and air conditioning to run concurrently. We can also make sure that your heating and cooling will only run when there is demand, i.e. you're not wasting money heating a building that's empty at the weekends, which we've seen quite a lot of, but another story. In addition to this, we can alert your facilities management teams about any issues with performance, faults on the equipment. And this is also a way of saving money, because we can actually tell them what the fault is, and we can make sure that their maintenance teams come to site with the right parts, the right information. It saves wasting time and it reduces your downtime on site. If you have an existing building management system, we can also optimise that. We've seen quite a lot. We've been to older sites. They've got building management systems. For one reason or another, they've been left and they've gone a little bit haywire, or they're not doing saving energy. They weren't put in for that reason. So we can actually go in and optimise that system and bring it up to date, and obviously that will help you to save energy. Control of your site is a really important step in saving energy. By aligning our sub-metering services with the powerful analytics of EDV and control system, will ensure you save energy. Now, I want to talk about I know I mentioned it earlier, but I'll go into a bit more detail about our bureau team, the lovely people that they are. Our bureau team is here to provide 24-hour support to our customers and our field engineers. The team perform all of the analytics on the data that comes back from the aM&T systems or the building management systems on site. They implement the control strategies and refine those as required. We've basically got a 24-hour coverage, so any time, day or night, there'll always be someone at the end of the phone to help. You mentioned earlier, I'm going to talk you through a project we did for a large fashion outlet in the UK. Fitted aM&T and control to over 300 of their sites. We also provide them a full managed service package, which includes data analysis, adjustment to control strategies, to change times for lighting and plant for different opening hours during sales and all those things. We began the project 2.5 years ago. We have saved them in excess of £3 million. So, well, obviously I'm speaking for myself, but that speaks massive volumes to me. So the retailer had was that they couldn't effectively implement a behaviour change in their staff. With the amount of staff being employed for temporary periods such as Christmas sales, they didn't have the continuity to be able to do that. And should retail staff be worrying about saving energy? Sure, in the current economic climate, as a retailer, you want your staff completely focused on selling. The sort of minutiae of day-to-day operations within the building itself shouldn't really come into it. In order to prove that our solution could deliver them savings that justify the investment, we carried out 18 trials. During site surveys, we discovered that some stores were too small and their energy spend was too low to bring a return on investment. Gathering data, when we ran out the surveys, we found a bit of a recurring theme, and that was that air conditioning was running when not required, not being switched off at night, lights being used when they weren't required and being left on overnight, air handling plant running continuously. Insulation, these things make a large impact to energy consumption, undoubtedly, but when you have 300 plus sites all with the same issue, the problem goes from being waste of energy just to unbelievable proportions. And another thing we noticed as well on some of the larger stores was that the big regulators that carry you between floors while you're walking around doing your shopping were actually being left to run on their own all night with no one in the store. But to get this situation under control, this is what we did. We took control of the lighting, the heating, and conditioning. The strategy that we used was to control the first stage of lighting, so that lighting that gets used for staff out of hours, for stock up and the rest of it. So we took control of that to prevent it being left on overnight. The second stage lighting, which is the lighting that comes or is on when you're in the shop doing your Christmas shopping or whatever. So we took control of that and made sure it wasn't running during trading hours. Similar with the window lights and fascia lights, we know those on just before the store starts trading and just after, or so we turn it off just after they finish trading. So limit the use of air conditioning to within trading hours. Again, as I was saying earlier, there's no point heating or cooling an empty building. We also only allow the air conditioning to cool down to 22 degrees and only heat up to 18 degrees. And so switch off air handling plant at night or when there's no demand for it. So gathering data, analysing it, making informed decisions on the control strategies, we can continuously improve energy consumption on site. We have installed metering and control systems in lots of different types of buildings and locations. We can overcome pretty much anything, well, within reason, of course. We have a dedicated R&D team who make sure we can offer a solution to any problem. Installation that could potentially cause disruption will be carried out at night, and it will be tested and commissioned by the time your operation opens in the morning. We have a deal of experience of working like this. Worked in, as I say, in shops, restaurants, anything you can think of really. So we're quite used to wandering around at night and. So just going to what I was saying really about the sort of diversity of the places we've been. This is just a quick look at some of our customers. Right, well, thank you very much for listening, and I found it interesting. We're now just going to move on to some questions and answers.
Thank you very much for supplying us with lots of great questions. There's some for both of you, actually. James, if a store is too small for payback, what can I do?
Well, a store that we were saying earlier, we found some stores on that project that were too small to make a payback. We identified that, you know, most outlets in the high street aren't massive, and it's a common problem. So we've actually been working with the R&D team, and we've come up with a solution to it. It's going to be called or we're going to call it our micro BMS offering. So hopefully that should be released early part of next year, but we'll keep the site up to date. So watch the space.
Great, thanks. And for you, Jurjen, what support do you offer during the implementation phase of a project?
It's something we actually control quite well, and we have a very, very robust process in place for that. We realize our customers have certain concerns when it comes to installing rollouts and doing big projects. So the first you'll get is a project manager. It will be dedicated to that specific project. So we will start with, let's say, pre-project meetings to make sure that we sort of share the experience that we have since 10, 20 years on doing big projects with you. So we can take the majority of the risk and the majority of the concerns, we can take them away very quickly. We'll, for example, make sure that communication to your portfolio, to your individual sites, is being dealt with properly, that all sites are aware of the fact that you will be installing or half-hourly. And at the same time, we will explain to them what will happen on the day. We will call them, we will confirm appointments, and we will absolutely minimize the effect that it has on business as usual. So if needed, we'll go out of hours, we go in the middle of the night, as James mentions, and there will be no sort of risk or any effect on business as usual. Then we'll have progress updates on how the project is going. At the same time, we will tackle the boards. And after the project, you'll have a customer relationship manager, which is your single point of contact. And he or she will help you as much as they can.
Brilliant, thanks. Another one for James. When it comes to real-time data, what are time periods being reported?
Yeah, really, as Jurjen was saying earlier, it depends on really what you want your data for. Additionally, we always report in half-an-hour chunks, but we're aware, we've seen that there's far more demand now for real-time data, and it does depend on customers' requirements, but we can go down to a minute.
In all honesty, if the feedback we've had from our customers, and not every customer is different, we would normally record data, what we call real-time, on a minute-by-minute basis. And we think that our customers and their stakeholders are happy with that. If something that you think isn't enough, then we are no problem from a capability and technologically point of view to do it every 10 seconds. But there can be an overload as well. So far, we've not come across any site where it was needed to do it more than on a minute-by-minute basis.
Great. Then one to James. What is the average percentage of energy saved by a retail customer, such as the one discussed?
When we discussed, I was actually talking to someone the other day, so I know this is accurate. On average, we're saving them 18% across their portfolio that we look after, which, as I said, that at the moment it equates to roughly £2 million.
Great. One for you, I think, is your energy management software updated on a regular basis?
I'm actually quite pleased that somebody asked that question, because over 8-9 months, we spent close to £2 million to upgrade our current web tool called EDV. And some of you might be aware, others of you might not be aware, the first releases and the first transfers from what we call within the office old EDV to new EDV, they'll be happening as from the 15th of November. So it's only, let's say, a week and a half away. It will be a phased move and switch and launch. So between, let's say, the middle of November and April, all our customers will move on to new EDV with an immense amount of new reports and new functionality, and it will also be a lot quicker than current EDV.
Okay, great. One from these two, James. When taking control of store lighting, how do you overcome the issue of retaining supplies to energy lights on a common feed?
Yes, good question. Yeah, what we typically do in that case is that we'd have to move our point of, or our switching point near to the load we're trying to switch. So we wouldn't want to switch it off, as you say, at the supply and put the emergency lighting in jeopardy.
Okay, Jurjen, one for you. Do you use subcontractors?
If I answer that very quickly, I would say no. It's not our policy to use subcontractors. However, we come across challenges that the customer has a project of 300, whether it's X, AMR, water AMR, or normal half-hourly or non-half-hourly, it doesn't really matter. And if this particular customer wants something done and wants the project to be completed within, let's say, 2-3 months, and this customer has a lot of sites in a specific area, we've not seen a lot of retail because they normally quite spread across the nation. But if you councils, if you take Bedfordshire, Somerset, or Aberdeen, or whatever it is, they'll have a lot of sites in a very small area, and they also have certain wishes with regards to when a project needs to be completed. So if there becomes a problem there, we would use subcontractors. We've been using certain subcontractors for the past 10+ years. They're very recognised and they're also very well trained. It's the only time that we will do it. It will not have any effect on you as a customer.
Great, thanks. And one for you, James. Where else, other than retail, have you helped to save energy? Give some examples.
Yeah, good question. Retail has been quite a big one, but we've worked in schools, hospitals, local governments, we've worked in offices. I mean, a myriad of places, really. I could probably sit here for quite a long time with the list, but that'll give you a sort of a rough overview of where we are or where we've been.
That's great, thanks, James. Jurjen, what training do you offer on your web tool?
I don't offer any training, and if I were to give the training, it would be pretty basic. I know software pretty well, but I'm not an expert on it, as some of you might be. The training that we offer, as I said before, it's not that much point to talk about old, as we call it, old EDV, because the new EDV version, and some of you will be on that within in weeks, and others might transfer in December, January, etc. EDV has a lot of training modules attached into the actual software, which are extremely helpful. Simply, it has a help function within the software as well. And I sometimes go on a website and then I click on help, and I get help on all kinds of things, but not really the page I'm actually on. And what we've done within EDV now is the help function is actually relevant for the page you are on. It just makes looking for something really quickly. If that isn't enough, we also offer, let's say, if you're back to school, we offer classroom EDV training. So that will be specific to you and your business, and you can cover any topics that you would like us to cover.
Okay, questions just come in. Which BEMS systems do you install?
Yeah, that's a good question. Tend to be ventral when it comes to in terms of components and parts. We'd like to think that we can actually define a solution by the problem, if you like. We go in with any predetermination of what's going to be there. It really is dependent on the site, and we'll always pick the best equipment for the site and the issue.
Okay, good. And I think we've only got time for one final question. Any questions, we will get back to you after the webinar, but we'll take one. Do you take C's into account in your energy leak reports? Yeah.
That's a good question. So obviously, if you manage your leak reports, and if you look at, let's say, usage or spent, there are certain things which you have to take into account. It would be fair to compare a small site with a big site. So whether it's size, and it can be square footage or square meters, and even building type, and degree days, all these things are taken into account when we compare a site to site. So it's very robust. Your site managers cannot come with excuses as in, well, I'm based in Manchester, it's colder here, or I have a smaller store, I'm in a shopping centre in London, etc. All these things, from size to building type to degree days, it's all taken into account.
Okay, great. I think that's all the questions we've got time for. I'm just going to pass back to Jurjen just to take you through some contact details for next steps.
Okay. First of all, thank you very much for your time and attending the webinar. If you'd like any further information or any questions, the questions that you've obviously already posted on the chat, we'll get to as many of them as we can this week. You can always contact us on marketing@IMServ.com, or in a real challenge, you can contact me. I apologise for the name, but I'm originally from Holland, and it's Jurjen.degreeve@IMServ.com. Well, again, thank you very much, and have a nice day.